This is the fourth part in the installment series of Fixing the Economy. That is our carbon economy. Now, we're going to talk about the fact that you might not understand why this actually does this, because you are a young Padawan that needs to be learned by the master. Okay? We have carbon that is captured from our hydrocarbons. We made a basically extremely efficient, not illegal at all, in any capacity, Stirling engine. It's not illegal. It's a Stirling engine. It is a heat engine like any other Stirling engine that has lower pressure in the crankshaft and higher heat and pressure in the exhaust manifold and the intake. So suck it up. It does. That is extremely not illegal, but apparently someone is saying it's illegal. That's where my brain goes. It's illegal, it's illegal, it's illegal, it's illegal to make this. You're breaking the laws of thermodynamics. It cannot be more efficient than and I'm like, water and the energy from the plasma, meaning electricity, and the cooling and all the rest of it, it's being put back into work energy. You are just an idiot that doesn't see this. You have to run the numbers correctly. The turbine is not as efficient as you say it is. It's a simple turbine. It's like 40. I didn't even say how efficient it was, but it's like 40 to 50% efficient. It might hit 60s. You know, I mean, that's it. It's just really, it's like, and the reason why is that stupid heart valve with the equaling tube headers, which effectively means it constantly pulses in and it only has one direction to travel through. And when properly set up with the correct spacing, that allows for a increased efficiency. And because it's larger on one side, which we have to reduce that mass, but it can be done, I gain back a flywheel turbine that will consistently keep spinning. That is more efficient as a turbine. I don't like my imagination brain comment section. They're real dicks. Now, it's efficient. It's not terrible. But remember, it doesn't matter how efficient it is. I didn't capture a 60% of the energy that I'm putting into the vehicle to make work energy. I am merely capturing that into the work energy, and then what's remained of that bleeding energy, I can capture roughly about 40 to 60%, and then after that, that is a roughly 50% from that. You have to run these numbers appropriately. You can't just add them all up. You have to then subtract that and then go, oh, then from that subtracted amount, which let's say it was 30 freaking units of energy, I extracted from 100, I got down to 30 units of energy. I'm going to get 50 of that 30, which is 15. So stop it. Stop. You need to do math good. You dumb young Padawans. I'm not near 100%, although I'm fairly close. I'm in the 70 to 80. Some of them are 90% because if you add in that carbon extraction, then like you can, instead of work energy, that's work energy performed for carbon extraction, which is in the 90% range now. For the new upgrade hybrid and generator exhaust recirculator hydraulic ram crankshaft, because I have less friction because it's just one direction. That tends to have a hydraulic fluid flywheel that uses the proper timing for the exhaust valves to help out the next combustion and intake and all the rest of it. Recycling system. Much more efficient. And I can do up to 4 of those again, and then I have to bleed them out because by that point I'm not getting any more energy, and it's actually going to start losing quite a bit. And that can just go into the old, good old double turbine, a radiator, thermoelectric generating thermophotovoltaic material radiator that goes before your catalytic converter, which the catalytic converter is now just a carbon capture practically at that point. Which I suppose we need a catalytic. I don't think we do, though. Personally, I'm like, what do we need this for? I'm basically combusting like nitric oxides and nitric dioxides, if they are any, under more pressure and heat, and then like exothermically. It's like, what is it that is there? Like, there should be like practically nothing. So, but sure, for regulations, it's there. More parasitic loss for the weight. Baby, But that push out in is a really wonderful fluid flow concept. That's all it is. And that heat then still gives me, from that radiator, a good old extra kick of energy, because that's a Stirling engine. It's waste heat. It's waste heat that I'm now going to use and turn into electricity fairly efficiently. Now, the inside of those tubes, I need boundary channels, all this other stuff. So it's like there's channeling, like my exhaust manifold design that I talked about. I have this channeling with these bumps, meaning dimples and bumps, that effectively help boundary layer flow by making it super flow. And same thing with that rotating vortex that allows for a pressure system that effectively bleeds off, and then, of course, has the superflow part, but then it goes in, and then it creates that rotating by curving, and then rotating, and then it goes out with the flow of those hydraulic fluids, thus increasing its efficiency profile and reducing tremendously the hydraulic fluid just wrecking the hell out of your tubes. Your tubes will, like, water breaks the Niagara Falls down. It started in the Americas, and now it's on the border, really, more or less, more in Canada than anything else. If you don't know, water tends to, and hydraulic fluid at high pressures and high flow does the same thing. So, caveats. You'll eventually have to service it. There you go. But you can get around that with basic coatings and, those bumps and grooves to help increase the fluid flow rate without having to get to the nanoscopic levels to be able to get that super flow, which, you can still do that. There's nothing saying people can't do it. It's just way harder to do. And then it's like, oh, yeah, no, I have a thermoelectric, and it's a very hot heat, and I'm just going to get this heat from the IR, then the heat, and then the residual heat that's coming off the heat. And I'm like, so I figured you like electricity. I figured you like those electrons. Those are cool things. So I was like, here's some more electrons. Just everywhere. But we're going to get back to why this is actually a good thing. This carbon capture means I can burn that for fuel. You can do that. 100%. That is heat now. I don't need to go get coal. It's effectively 100% carbon that has no other sulfur or anything else. Asterisk, it'll have some. Some is there. Yeah, can't get rid of all of it. But that's heat from your hydrocarbons to store for later. It's a battery. I use that as a battery, which is why it's that efficient. You think, it's not that efficient. If I run the number, it's number. And I'm like, What if they burn the carbon for heat elsewhere? I suppose that would be efficient, yes. I mean, it's work energy at some other point in time. And depending on how distant it's traveled, removes some of the efficiencies closer to that 90%. Ah, yes. So what if I made it run and make that electricity and heat go into the building with miniature or larger engines? From the sewage and organic waste and plastics that the people inside of the building produce. And then I sequester it underground using growing food, otherwise known as nutritional items. What if I just did that? I suppose. Sure. Look at you. What if I then made it so that way it makes it more efficient for my one-pot method, making better hydrocarbon use because of the bacteria producing hydrogen and methane, thus increasing the probability under the pressure and heat. Some other chemical catalytic enzymatic processes that improve the efficiency of the hydrocarbon production from that hydrogen release and carbon additive from our hydrocarbons exhaustive work for, energy production. I would have to assume that would be possible. Yeah, I mean, there's refinement. So, but the point is that is why it's a growth sector. At first, it's not really we're going to have it ready to go perfect. If you don't know, it takes time to do this. And we still have a hydrothermal pyrolysis reaction that is going to occur, which, I mean, over the course of a month, I can build that up with some solar and some batteries and wind. So, and some, look at this hydrothermal. And it's like, wait, geothermal? You talking about geothermal? I heard, maybe you meant geothermal. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I meant. So there's a design here that takes the equivalency of a radiator in a dirt, effectively, design to the extreme, which is not even a joke. It's literally, so we get an oil rig, we drill one hole, and we basically make a circle. We then move a section down, and we screw it on, and we click it in, and we move another one, and we move another one, just like oil drilling. But now it's outside is the thermoelectric and piezoelectric and thermophotovoltaic material that is then going to be cooled from a skin that it has insulative, vacuum insulative, and insulative, areas in between that are then going to go all the way to the bottom because there's a lot of pressure. It tends to keep gaining heat. But it's like there's a point where those thermoelectric, and so we have to get that off. And so we have that, and then we go to just steam that it's trying to be. It was just super compressed hot water. Okay? Like, that's kind of what it is. It wants to be steam, but it's under enough pressure that it doesn't do that. And so then it has the capillary inside, which is not really a capillary, it's really just a circle in the inside, which has high steam pressure that is then going to go and travel across multiple versions in between or through these, effectively just cylinders towards a central, medium, but still fairly high pressure turbine that's vertical. That is then going to go into I know, right? I'm such a stinker. You know what I mean? This turbine housing, it's got steam. I can heat that with my thermal photovoltaic electric generating material and cool it off with new fresh water diggeroos. Which is like, really? Is that really what that is? And I'm like, yeah, that's basically all. Because some of the steam is still going to go up. It's low pressure, but then it's going to combine up to the top. But the higher pressure stuff is not going to go off in towards that central higher pressure, but very high volume flow rate steam turbine. But then I need to cool it off on the outside because, of course, it's underneath, and you tend to have to surface it just a little. Steam turbine. If they say that, you just set it and forget it. And I'm like, bullshit. I'm like, no. What? To let you know, no, it's not. You have to service that. So basically, it's like cooling that shroud and that kind of area tends to help that a little. But then it's like it's easy enough to kind of like move those in those sections and then pull it out and then put it back down. And the steam going to dry mode or very low steam, and then allowing to have it be modularly taken out, allows for this to work. And then all that low pressure and then the comparatively lower pressure, because they got used for work, goes into a Bernoulli's principle, the funnel. It's a funnel? I don't know why you managed to say a funnel is like a principle, but okay, whatever. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to put it into like trying to get that medium pressure again. And then we get the lower pressure area. And then that's going to go into the heat exchanger of because it's still relatively high heat, it's steam, but it's not high enough for thermoelectric. But our now waste heat generator for the Stirling process for our radiator now gives us more electricity. And so it's like, oh, yay. By the way, that radiator sits in between a counter-rotating windmill design with fan shrouds that happens to have, what is that? Solar photovoltaics? That's, what? And it's like, is that a blimp up there? Yeah. We have stretchy, thin enough solar photovoltaic. I mean, it's high enough. I can run a DC to AC line converter down to the bottom, energy transfer, and then send it, for like a power station further distance, right? I'm pretty sure I can do that. So now I have even greater amounts of electricity produced for a given area. Heat that's always there, wind that's pretty much always that high up going, and also sun, because the clouds were low that time, and so they were above the clouds. And then because there are clouds, there's this thing called wind, because there's heat where my radiators are, convectively creating a current which will run the rear counter-rotating turbine. They're in a stacked array that sends the axle from these two counter towards the center, all the way at the bottom, big old electric generator majig. That goes into the transformer power station thingy majig that goes and sends it off to majig power appliances majiggas that then do the kajiggering of whatever it is you're using it for, that then you most likely sit down and eat, most likely, or watch, or complain typing quickly on your keyboard at how stupid this idea is. Because why would we? It's so I'm like, because we're in the genuine near terawatts, definitely gigawatts consistently. Like, we can, if we improve the design pretty well. I have a way of turning a ionic, meaning like fluoride, chlorine, stuff like that, gas that is going to be used to exchange heat into that waste heat generator for the solar panels, that is now able to help the electron movement jump during solar photovoltaic normal generation, because it's like there's a band gap, and then we're going to basically use cooling channels that are pretty close to that band gap to facilitate like a catalyst or an enzyme, a easier electron travel for the band gap, and we'll go above the band gap limit that is theorized, but not really. We're essentially putting those electrons or lack of electrons to work with the heat. And so it's really just recirculating that energy into making that band gap work better for us above its limit, kind of like supercharging or turbocharging a solar panel. And so that's another version of the energy crisis solved. And we also have the salt mineral graphite batteries that can be eventually refined until we have lots of batteries around, man. You know, just every which way you want them, dude. Like, totally. Got Star Trek up in here. Then I was like, you know, these asphalt roads can just be like piezoelectrics with some, you know, copper coils, but then they'll steal the copper coils. And then I was like, and so now they're piezoelectric platforms that as you ride across them with solar panels on the top that have these little turbines, and basically it turned into like this onrush of air gets pushed up into and then out, and then that's through the turbines that then like have this sucking in kind of current, because it clicks, drops in, blows air into there from the front to help reduce that air pressure, thus improving the efficiency of the cars while having solar panels. And then the piezoelectric, and then it's like, oh yeah, no, I can make a basic kind of like phase array that kind of spike graphs material, the electromagnetic fields into, let's say, like a bumper car wireless design, which has it close to the ground, and then like it wirelessly charges while it drives using the electricity and solar panels, electricity and turbine electricity, and blah, 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 blah. You get the picture. And I was like, and now, next, there's more. Wait, we're not going to do the cocaine like that one dude with OxyClean that had a heart attack as a result. Rest in peace, guy. You were, I think, a good person. I actually don't know. Never met the guy, don't know him personally, so there you go. But we're going to talk about the fact that, like, hey, now I have this, like, one pot method, and, like, check out a load of this just power plant that's within a, 1,000, let's say it's 1,000 acres, like 100, let's screw it, 100 acres. You get 100 acres to go for. I can produce a fairly good amount of gigawattage. Decent, because it's hydrothermal. I mean, sure, you have to drill, blah, 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 energy production, blow it. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, yeah, no, we're good, though. It takes its time, but then we actually make up that cost of investment of energy and also the price, because the government's going to fund this, because it's like, no, we need monopolistic companies that are in a particular area that control all of our electricity. It's not the same if it's the government that's the monopoly. I'll be right back. Part 5's coming.